5 ways to build respect without saying a word. There are moments in life when you learn that respect isn't earned by speaking louder, explaining harder, or performing your worth like a street magician desperate for applause. Respect comes silently, quiet as the smell of rain before a storm, subtle as the way sunlight enters a room in the early hours before anyone else wakes. You don't announce it, you embody it. You don't chase it, you radiate it. And strangely, once you stop trying to convince people to value you, they start noticing you in ways they never did before. But why is that? Why does the world seem to respond more powerfully to the person who doesn't beg for attention, who doesn't explain themselves into exhaustion, who simply moves through the room with a certain groundedness? I understood this the night I walked home after a long argument I shouldn't have entertained in the first place. It was late, and the street was almost empty, except for a woman locking up her little bookstore. She looked tired, her hair tied loosely in a bun, with strands falling around her face like threads of warm brown silk. There was a calmness in the way she shifted the key, the way her shoulders stayed relaxed, the way she didn't seem hurried, even though the wind carried the cold scent of approaching rain. She didn't say a word to me. She didn't need to. Her presence communicated something that lingered with me all the way home: control without force, confidence without noise, certainty without dominance. That night I wondered, how many people move through life like that, communicating their character without ever needing to narrate it? Stoicism teaches that character shows itself in silence, the same way mountains show themselves without shouting at the sky. A mountain does not introduce itself, it just stands there, immovable, steady, patient. And people feel its presence even before they realize why. Respect works the same way. It isn't demanded, it's evoked. It doesn't scream, it resonates. So here are the 5 ways to build respect without saying a single word. 5 ways to carry yourself so intentionally that people feel who you are before they learn your name. 1. Stay calm, no matter what. There is a certain kind of stillness that powerful people carry, not the stillness of someone avoiding conflict, but the stillness of someone who knows who they are. It's the type of presence that can calm a chaotic room without a single gesture. Most people don't realize how loud their insecurity is. It shows up in fidgeting, darting eyes, tapping feet, over-explaining, desperate laughter, and nervous apologies. They walk around like they're trying to shrink themselves into the floorboards, afraid that any second they'll be exposed. But the person who has cultivated inner stillness moves differently. Their steps are deliberate. Their shoulders rest naturally. Their hands stay calm at their sides. Their breath isn't rushed, it's steady, like quiet waves rolling onto a shore. I remember sitting in a tiny kitchen once, the smell of lavender tea rising from an old ceramic cup in front of me, while an older family friend explained something without raising his voice. He had a way of pausing before he spoke, as though he didn't feel the need to fill the silence quickly. His hands, warm and slightly rough from years of manual work, didn't fidget or tap. They simply rested on the wooden table. Even the way he blinked seemed unhurried. He wasn't trying to impress me. He wasn't trying to dominate the space. He just existed with a kind of internal gravity. And the strangest thing happened. I found myself leaning in, wanting to hear him, wanting to understand him, not because of his words, but because of the energy he carried before speaking them. Respect forms when people sense that you are not moved by anxiety, chaos, or external validation. It forms when you show that you can sit with yourself without needing to escape through noise. Stillness communicates strength faster than confidence ever could. Stillness says, I am not here to prove myself. I am here because I am grounded. and that kind of silent presence stays with people long after you walk away. 2. Let your actions show your discipline. People unconsciously measure you by the way you treat your space, your body, your environment, and the responsibilities tied to your name. You don't have to declare your discipline. People can see it. They notice the way your shoes are tied, the way your clothes sit on you, the way your bag is packed. They notice how you handle minor inconveniences, whether you sigh dramatically when a cashier is slow or whether you maintain composure. They notice how you treat the chair after standing up, how you fold a sweater, how you carry an umbrella dripping with rainwater without splashing everyone around you. These tiny, almost invisible actions reveal who you are long before anyone hears your voice. There was a neighbor I used to observe from my window in the mornings. She had long black hair that she tied into a neat ponytail, and she always walked with steady steps even when rushing. She smelled faintly of jasmine and laundry starch. Every morning she would check her car's tires with a small handheld gauge before driving off. Calm, focused, efficient. No drama, no fuss. She didn't know I ever noticed her, but I did. And strangely, her consistency earned my respect more than most long conversations I've had with people. She seemed like the kind of person who handled things before they became problems, the kind of person who didn't crumble at the first sign of difficulty. Stoicism is built on self-mastery, and self-mastery is best observed in the small things. When you take control of your behavior, your space, and your rituals, you don't need to proclaim discipline. You emanate it. People trust the individual who handles their own life with order. People respect the person who proves, without words, that they are responsible, dependable, and aligned with their values. They respect the person who shows through their habits that chaos doesn't own them. Respect grows when your behavior speaks louder than your statements. 3. Use eye contact. That shows confidence. There's a particular power in the way someone makes eye contact, not the intense predatory stare of someone who watched too many crime dramas, but the grounded, warm presence of someone who sees you without fear or insecurity. Eye contact is one of the oldest silent languages in human history. It reveals who is present, who is authentic, who is pretending. It shows whether someone is rooted or shaking inside. And when someone can look you in the eyes with calmness, something inside you pays attention. Years ago, I spoke to a woman at a small outdoor market. She sold handmade candles that smelled of vanilla and burnt sugar. She had soft curls that brushed her shoulders and eyes the color of dark honey in sunlight. When she spoke to customers, she didn't rush. She didn't look at the ground. She didn't scan the surroundings nervously. She gave people her full attention, even if they were only asking about prices. Her tone was warm and resonant, low enough that you had to listen, but clear enough that you never strained. She carried herself with an effortless openness, and without saying anything about herself, you could tell she was secure. That security made people want to buy from her more than the candles did. Eye contact reveals your internal world faster than your mouth ever could. People respect the person whose eyes communicate honesty, calmness, and present-mindedness. Someone who doesn't flinch under pressure. Someone who doesn't hide behind performative smiles. Someone who stands in their truth without shame. When your eyes show that you're neither intimidated nor needy, both friends and strangers respond differently to you. They sense that you are aligned, aware, and anchored, and nothing demands respect more quietly than a person who sees the world clearly and allows the world to see them without fear. 4. Know when to stay silent. Silence has a texture. It can be heavy or comforting, sharp or soft, awkward or grounding. But there is one form of silence that earns respect instantly: the silence of restraint. Stoicism teaches that not every thought deserves expression, not every emotion warrants display, and not every provocation requires reaction. There is a dignity in choosing what not to engage with. In a world where everyone feels the need to comment on everything, restraint is a rare language of power. I once witnessed a man being insulted, quite loudly, in a small line outside a coffee shop. The woman in front of him was frustrated with the slow barista and took her irritation out on whoever was nearest. Her voice was sharp enough to cut through the air, and the smell of burnt espresso drifted around us. She called him inconsiderate for standing too closely, even though he wasn't. Most people would have snapped back, raised their voice, or defended themselves aggressively, but he simply stepped back half a step, his expression calm, his hands in his coat pockets. His posture didn't change, his breathing didn't change. He didn't shrink, but he didn't erupt either. That silence spoke louder than a counter-argument ever could. People around him noticed. Some even frowned at the woman for her outburst. His restraint exposed her lack of it, and I remember thinking, this is what Stoicism looks like in real time. Not passivity, not weakness, but strength expressed through control. A quiet refusal to be dragged into other people's storms. Respect follows the person who doesn't allow others to dictate their emotional temperature. When you choose silence over unnecessary conflict, when you choose composure over chaos, when you choose dignity over impulsiveness, people understand one thing very quickly: you are not easily moved. And people respect what is not easily moved. 5. Walk in like you belong there. The final way to build silent respect is through the way you walk into a room and the way you occupy space. Not through arrogance, not through exaggerated swagger, but through grounded self-assurance, the kind that cannot be faked. People can feel your internal dialogue before you speak. If your mind is screaming insecurities, your body will betray you. But if your mind is steady, your steps become steady too. I once knew someone who walked into every room like she belonged there, not because she was loud or glamorous, but because her presence felt deliberate. Her hair was usually tied back with a dark ribbon, her clothes simple but clean, and she always smelled faintly of citrus and something like fresh linen. She had a way of placing her hand on a chair before sitting, almost grounding herself for a moment. Her movements were slow, intentional, never frantic, and whenever she laughed, which wasn't often, her voice had this warm, confident depth to it that made people pause mid-conversation just to listen. She didn't demand respect, she carried it. She wasn't charming in a theatrical way, she was magnetic in a quiet one. People respond deeply to the person who is comfortable in their own skin. Stoicism teaches self-possession, the art of belonging to yourself first. When you walk with your shoulders aligned, when your gaze is steady, when your gestures are deliberate, when your energy isn't scattered, people register something primal. This person is anchored. This person is not afraid. This person respects themselves, and the world returns what you radiate. Conclusion. Respect is not a performance. It is not earned through speeches, declarations, or strategic self-promotion. It is earned in silence, in the way you breathe, the way you move, the way you treat others, the way you treat yourself. It is earned through discipline, presence, restraint, alignment, and quiet confidence. Stoicism teaches that you have power over your inner world, and your inner world shapes your outer impact. People remember the way you made them feel before they remember what you said. They remember how grounded you were, how present, how intentional. They remember your stillness, your discipline, your eye contact, your restraint, your quiet confidence. And without a word, you build a reputation that speaks for you long after your footsteps fade from the room. Respect earned silently lasts the longest, because it is rooted not in performance, but in truth. And when you learn to embody these principles, the world recognizes you, not because you spoke, but because you didn't need to.